This is the Hansmaker D1 ULTRA, and what it can do is basically magic. I'm not exaggerating, in fact during testing I couldn't believe my eyes in multiple occasions. It has a basically instant engraving speed of 10,000 mm per second, it can do 3D engraving on metal and stone, and it is capable of such fine details that I literally had to use a microscope to be able to read this engraving on stainless steel. It also has the ability of engraving and marking more than 300 materials, cutting steel and engraving it in more than 90 colors. Let's make some cool projects with it to properly test it. I started simple and easy with this engraving of my logo on this keychain. Straight away I was very impressed by the extreme ease of use of this Hansmaker D1 ULTRA, something even simpler than using a paper printer. In fact, having connected it to my home Wi-Fi, the process is literally this. Open the proprietary M+ software, to which the machine will automatically connect, update the camera feed, design the logo directly on the object you want to engrave, and press mark. That's it. The engraving turned out extremely professional, producing a deep and dark mark using the 20 watts diode module at 1000 mm per second and 80% power. One thing that you will immediately notice with this machine is the absurd speed at which it can pump out projects. The Galvo motion system, paired with the Tune firmware that controls its movement, allows for a max speed of 10,000 mm per second, which in real time looks something like this. Yeah, just consider that the fastest laser engraver that I've owned maxed out at 20,000 mm per minute. I underline per minute, not per second. If we consider minutes, the D1 ULTRA does 600,000 mm per minute. That's simply impressive. Moving on with the projects, I tried engraving a 3D relief on a plywood sheet, with again amazing results despite the fact that wood is not the ideal material to do 3D reliefs with. One thing that helps to improve the looks is keeping the power high and the speed at the limit over which the wood doesn't even get marked. This guarantees that the wood gets vaporized without getting burned, producing a clean and deep engrave. After this amazing result, I've also tried engraving a grayscale image on this plywood sheet, and I was impressed once again by the speed this laser is able to achieve, with the whole 10x10 cm image being engraved in just under 3 minutes, with nice results. Next, I want to test the max detail that this machine is able to produce. For that, I engraved my channel's initials on a steel utility knife blade, and it turned out amazing, as you can see. Well, not really, unless you consider that this footage was taken under a microscope, and this writing is 0.2 mm high and 0.7 mm wide. Here is a human hair for comparison. After this impressive result, I tried engraving a 3D relief on steel and on aluminum using the 30 watts fiber laser, which is a self-developed laser module featuring power adjustability from 3 to 100%, and an extremely fine focus dot of just 0.06 mm squared. The results turned out super nice, especially the one in the aluminum, with an engraving depth of around 1 mm, truly giving the impression of looking at a 3D image, with a texture similar to metal 3D printed parts. I honestly didn't expect the engraving to turn out this deep, and I was really impressed to be able to get such definition and depth, since I thought that a CNC router was the only way to achieve these results. Reliefs on metal usually turn out great, but we all know that the best material to do 3D reliefs on is stone, so here we go. For this first stone relief, I used this flat rock, engraving this beautiful design that is available in the sample library in the M+ software. The result was truly impressive, with an engraving depth of around 2 mm, and a definition that is simply impressive, with all the individual hair being clearly visible. I honestly don't know how a laser can manage depth so well, but yeah, with this machine I learned to not make any questions, since what's going on in the laser head is truly the pinnacle of engineering and is basically magic. This machine also claims to be able to cut a variety of materials. Testing this on plywood and leather, we can see the clean cuts it produces in both cases. Even though this is not a laser designed specifically for cutting, and in fact if you need to cut functional parts or components for your projects, I suggest a gantry motion system that allows the use of air assist to produce a cleaner cut. Still, the results were quite nice, and it managed to cut both through wood and leather very fast and accurately. Using the infrared laser, we should also be able to cut thin metals, and to test that I've engraved this design on a business card and cut the contour. As you can see, it managed to do so without any issues, mainly because the card is very thin, coming in at around 0.2 mm. But still, this is an impressive result that I've never been able to achieve with any other machine I've tested. Another impressive capability claimed by Hansmaker is the ability to engrave in color on stainless steel or titanium. For that, I've first set up this test to see what effects changing settings had on the engraved color, and after getting this nice gradient, I managed to paint this beautiful picture on this piece of plate steel, with a result that impressed me once again. I am sure that with some more tweaking, the results could be even better, but still it's amazing that just with light you can engrave colors on a piece of metal. As I mentioned, the most difficult aspect of such machine is actually finding the right settings for the materials we want to engrave. Fortunately, Hansmaker thought of that and included a material library, including a bunch of different materials and 36 specific settings combinations with a preview of how the engraving will turn out. You can just select the engraving style you are going for, and the settings will adjust accordingly, to produce an engraving with the identical color and definition of the one you selected in the software. This function really streamlines the most tedious part of laser engraving, making it extremely straightforward and super beginner-friendly. This laser also comes with a rotary module to allow you to engrave round objects of all shapes and sizes. I've tested it by engraving this stainless steel water bottle, but there are also plenty of adjustments and configurations to allow the engraving of everything around that you could imagine. Another extremely cool feature that comes in very handy, especially when engraving uneven objects, is the 3D surface mapping and adjustment. The laser is in fact able to 3D scan the object you want to engrave, creating a 3D surface map of the area it will engrave on, allowing it to adjust the focus accordingly and always get the best result possible. Lastly, there is a third accessory that you can get with the purchase of this product, which is the conveyor belt that allows for batch engraving. In fact, you can just position it under the laser head to increase the engraving area from 20 by 20 to 80 by 20 cm, which is absolutely massive. The main focus for this conveyor belt is to allow for the engraving of long objects, like this long bamboo stick, onto which I engraved a bunch of my channel names with great results. The last feature available with this laser will greatly benefit the ones wanting to produce multiple copies of a single engraving. In fact, the intelligent software allows to position the design on a single object, and the laser will automatically position, orient and engrave the same design on other objects placed on the build area or on the conveyor belt, which in this case are a bunch of business cards with my logo on it. As you can see, I placed them randomly on the engraving plate, and the software managed to replicate perfectly the position and orientation of my original design on all of the cards. I honestly don't see myself using this function anytime soon, since I don't have a business where I sell physical products. But I definitely understand how such a function is truly groundbreaking for a small or big business that needs hundreds of engravings done in a single hour, increasing sales and profit. Summing up, the Hansmaker D1 ULTRA proved to be an extremely capable and easy to use laser that will certainly satisfy everyone that will purchase it. These results don't come as a surprise, since Hans Laser, which is the parent company of Hansmaker, holds more than 5,000 patents in this laser field with more than 30 years of experience. I unfortunately can't compare this laser to its rivals, since I haven't tested them, but the specs talk for themselves and offer an accurate representation of the true capabilities of this machine. The sheer speed at which this machine can pump out projects is impressive and is something that really allows it to be used to increase sales and profit. The quality is also constantly impressive, with not a single time where I was disappointed by its results. Despite all of that, the best thing about this machine, in my opinion, is the user experience. From the moment I downloaded the software, it has been working flawless, with an extremely intuitive interface, perfect connection every time, and simple, well laid out menus and settings that truly make every feature of this machine clear and very easy to use. The quality of this laser is to be expected if we factor in the price. In fact, at a starting price of $4,200 and the price of $5,100 for the bundle I have here with the rotary module and conveyor belt, it is definitely not a cheap machine by any means. Still, if you will use it to create projects to sell, I assure you that it will pay for itself in just a couple of months. Don't forget that the Hansmaker D1 ULTRA is currently available on a Kickstarter campaign for 40% of the retail price. That means just $3,000 for the bundle I reviewed and $2,600 for the laser alone, which is an awesome deal. If you're interested in purchasing it and don't want to miss this deal, you can find a link below. That's it for today, I will catch you in the next one!